That is it, full time. Arsenal 0, PSG 1. What an absolutely incredible game it was. I spoke about it on my TikTok channel. I do think the referee had some absolute stinkers and little moments in this game where I thought, what on earth are you doing? You made it all about yourself. But I've got to say, it is absolutely incredible from PSG. Don't get me wrong. We'll talk about Arsenal, but as a whole, PSG were incredible. What a start to the game. They came out absolutely flying. That goal, they just said, was 26 passes. It was so beautiful to watch the way they moved it and how fast they moved it. Dembele coming inside and then going back outside, and then the finish as well. Don't get me wrong, there's problems with Arsenal with what they were trying to do, but just look at it and appreciate PSG for a starters, because PSG were absolutely incredible tonight. I feel like they did a number on Arsenal. They knew exactly what Arsenal would do. Arsenal were going to try and come out and press them, and PSG allowed that. And in the second half, PSG didn't mind the fact that they would have to sit in at times. It's like they appreciated it, they didn't mind it, and that's a sign of a real decent side. I think it was an incredible performance, well-rounded, good attacking display, good defensive display. Midfield was incredible, and Donnarumma, a keeper that I've questioned a lot in recent years. I've said at times, I'm not sure how good he is, because we've seen him in moments have real stinkers, a lot of mistakes earlier on in this competition and later on in this competition. But today, he was absolutely incredible. The Martinelli save, the Trossard save. That Trossard save is world class. We spoke about Alisson earlier on in this competition. That is a world-class save. Yes, Trossard probably should have scored. Martinelli probably should have scored, but it's incredible saves in both of those instances. Now let's get on to Arsenal. I'm a little bit disappointed in a sense of, I thought they'd kind of really go for it, kind of like man for man at times. And the thing is, that's what PSG wanted, and they tried it at times and they just couldn't get to it, and that was the problem. But there are certain players that I didn't feel like stepped up today. ODEGAARD, I don't even really remember him touching the ball. That's the kind of thing where I'm a little bit disappointed. I thought Saka was really good today. I thought he created quite a few chances. But Declan Rice was incredible in that midfield. At times, it felt like him and Marino were battling 10 men in there, with the way that PSG constantly have players coming inside and things like that. I thought Martinelli had moments, but overall wasn't great. Trossard, you can tell he's just not a striker. And I think that's another problem. Obviously, Arsenal have got a lot of injuries. And at one point, when I looked at the 11, it hit me. They're missing Gabriel, they're missing Havertz, missing Calafiori, all these other players that we could go through. The list does go on. It is mental. But you could just tell they were missing that hold-up play at times, or just that kind of, when you compare Trossard to Dembele, I know it's obviously a massive jump, but you can see the difference of having somebody that's used to playing as a number 9, which Dembele has been this season. Second half, it was better than it was in the first half from Arsenal, because Arsenal in that last 10 minutes of the first half looked like they could carry on and kind of come out. Then they came out, scored a goal. But for me, that is mental that VAR looked at that for 3 minutes. That is absolutely ridiculous. That is exactly what's wrong with the modern game. I could see it with my glasses. Bearing in mind, we all know what my eyesight's like. I could literally see it with my glasses that it was quite clearly offside. It was so obvious. Why we needed 3 minutes to look at it. And that's where I feel like didn't help Arsenal as well. It kind of killed the momentum a bit, because then it felt like the tide turned and then PSG came back. But overall, kind of on reflection, if you sit back looking, I'm a neutral in this, but if I was an Arsenal fan, I'd think, okay, 1-0 isn't as bad as it could have been, because PSG had so many chances. It was ridiculous. Ramos hitting the bar, Barcola dragging it wide. There were so many moments in this game where PSG easily could have gone through with it, because I think it was at halftime they said they'd had 6 shots compared to Arsenal's 1. It kind of just summed up kind of the difference, where PSG kind of, they can, in games in earlier in the competition where we watched them against Liverpool, where they dominated the ball, at times that second half, PSG kind of sat back, which we haven't seen them do too often, and cut through Arsenal like that. 3 passes and they're in behind, and that is the sign of a very decent side. So I'm trying to look at it kind of on reflection and not be disappointed, not be too annoyed at Arsenal, because yes, there are some players that didn't step up, like your likes of ODEGAARD and players like that. Marino, I thought, also kind of battled in there quite well at times as well. But Declan Rice for me is incredible. When I watch him in the games tonight, you can see he stands out. He really battled, and with the likes of Vitinha and Ramos and Neves, these are players that we talk about being some of the best centre midfielders in the world. So you've seen Declan Rice on a big stage there today. But kind of look at those moments, you just think, ODEGAARD, a few chances, had that final pass, just gave the ball away quite a lot. And you just think, that's what they needed. Those are the kind of players and those are the kind of moments where you need somebody to step up, because you saw PSG do it when Dembele would play that killer pass, or Barcola would, or Kvaratskhelia. There are so many players that have that moment, and I just looked at Arsenal tonight and they just didn't have that cutting edge. But overall, PSG were absolutely incredible, and I think you've got to take your hats off. I'm not actually going to take my hat off, don't you worry, you're not seeing the trim, but you've got to take your hats off to them and kind of just go, do you know what, that was an incredible performance. A very good away performance, especially, and obviously away goals don't mean anything anymore, but this kind of gave me the feel of like an old school away day kind of Champions League night where you get that early goal, which they would be dreaming of that because the goal itself was incredible, as I just said, but getting an early goal, sitting back and then countering, which is what they did at times in that towards the end of the second half. And Ramos probably should have scored that one when he hit the bar, when he toe poked it. Like, there's little moments where Arsenal potentially on reflection could look at it and go, do you know what? That's not too bad. It's not too bad. Do you know what I mean? Because there were so many moments where it felt like the tide game was going to shift. But overall, an incredible game. But I want to talk about the referee now, because I thought the referee was absolutely ridiculous in this game. I thought the referee, there were so many moments where he killed it for Arsenal. Because when Arsenal, after about 20 minutes, started to kind of realise, you know what, if we go man for man, if we really back ourselves here, Saliba come running out a few times on Dembele, hit him hard. Timber started hitting Kvaratskhelia. And there was a few moments where it looked like the tide was starting to shift slightly. Momentum started to go kind of towards, like the pendulum started to swing towards Arsenal. Then again, the referee would blow for ridiculous fouls. There was one from Saka where Saka was pressing Nuno Mendes back into his own corner, hits the deck. It is so obvious that it's not a foul. It is ridiculous. But again, the referee gave it. And there were so many moments like that where I felt like the ref was just making this game kind of ridiculously long for no reason. And I felt like it kind of killed it for Arsenal at times. They're currently just showing, I've still got the analysis on, they're just showing the goal again. And I think that they've just shown you here, Dembele takes the ball from the halfway line. And in that moment, I know that they'll probably mention this, but I look at it and think maybe somebody like Partey, maybe now you look at that and you think how much of a miss Partey was. Because he would have been there in that holding midfield role. But then as the game went on, it looked like they sorted out the situation where Dembele kept dropping in. For that goal, you see, if he runs back in, he takes the ball on the half turn on the halfway line. No one follows him. But as the game went on, Arsenal changed that and they did follow him. And that's where they then started to deliver. But it's just little moments like that you can't do in a Champions League semi-final. So I'm intrigued as to how this second leg will go and how it will fare next week. I am buzzing to be doing a reaction to that and buzzing to watch that, because that game as a whole was still incredible. There were so many chances and it's really interesting to see two real differing styles of teams kind of going at each other. It's really interesting. One really defensive side that are really strong and a team that are really attacking really well. And then they flipped it in the second half. It felt like the two sides were kind of playing in different ways than they normally would. It was incredible to watch. But thank you guys, if you haven't already, for watching this video. Please do smash the like button. Please do subscribe. I'm trying to get to 15,000 subscribers by the end of the year. It's a bit of an ambitious shout. Probably won't do it, but you can help me by doing that right now. Comment down below your thoughts on the game. I thought Arsenal were going to win this. And even at half-time, I still felt like they could have done it. I'm now going to have to probably have a sit back and think. It's probably... Realistically, I think Arsenal have got a good result out of this, the fact that they only lost that 1-0, because PSG were absolutely incredible. But let me know your thoughts on that game and let me know your predictions for the second leg. And thank you guys, as I said, for watching. Smash the like button. Please do subscribe. Have a lovely night. And if you're an Arsenal fan, don't be too disappointed. Also, just respect how good PSG were. It was incredible. But thank you. I'll speak to you guys soon. Peace.